So hello everyone from Kingston. It's such a pleasure to be here in this virtual space with you. My name is Haley McCormick and my pronouns are she, her. I am the Arts and Science Exchange Coordinator in the International Programs Office at Queen's University. So I work with our outgoing exchange students and you, our incoming exchange students. We're getting really excited for your arrival in Kingston soon over the next couple of weeks. And this session today is part of our three-part orientation session where we want to inform you on the exchange logistics. That was the webinar we had yesterday. The student experience, so how you can get involved on campus, because Queen's is very well known for the student involvement and the voice of students on campus. And then tomorrow we'll be having a professor speak with you all about making that academic transition into the Faculty of Arts and Science. To begin our time together, I would like to acknowledge that Queen's University and Kingston are both situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee nations. To reflect on this is to acknowledge the longer history of this place, one that predates the arrival of the earliest European settlers. And it's also to recognize the special relationship between Indigenous nations and caretakers and the land. As someone who identifies as a settler on Turtle Island or Canada, I know that I have a great responsibility to understand the past on this land, but also the current situation, particularly with Indigenous and settler relations. So when I refer to myself as a settler, I mean that my family came to these lands as uninvited guests at some point in the last few centuries. I know that as particularly a member of the Kingston community, I have a responsibility to understand the history of this place. And some ways that I try and do that are by attending events that happen on campus or virtually throughout the year, and also by engaging with events that happen locally in the community. I would really encourage you as welcome guests at Queen's to also think about what lands you're stepping on and the history of the lands. And there's really fantastic ways to learn more about this throughout your time at Queen's. So particularly, you could consider the Intercultural Awareness Certificate, which is offered by the Four Directions Indigenous Student Center and the Queen's University International Center. It's a great way to think about intercultural learning and awareness, and it also has a particular focus on indigeneity. So I would encourage you to think about that and remember that you will hear many of these acknowledgements of territories or land acknowledgements in classes and at events while you study with us at Queen's. Today, as I mentioned before we started recording, you're not going to hear a lot from me. You're going to be hearing from Brian and Tina. So Brian and Tina are two students here with us, and they are also student leaders on our campus. So Brian is a commissioner of clubs with the Alma Mater Society, and Tina is a services commissioner with the Arts and Science Undergraduate Society. Brian is a student who studies civil engineering and economics in a dual degree, and he is from Halifax, which is in the province of Nova Scotia, which is on the east part of Canada. So if you see Brian around campus and you're complaining about the snow when we do get it in November or December, just be careful, because if he's from Nova Scotia, he's experienced a lot worse, and he might tell you about that. And he, as a fun fact, he actually was originally studying full-time in the Faculty of Arts and Science, and then transferred into the Faculty of Engineering. So if you're taking some arts and science courses and maybe an engineering course on the side, he might also be a great person to ask some questions about both of those experiences. Tina's here with us as well. So as I mentioned, Tina is the Services Commissioner with the Arts and Science Undergraduate Society. Tina is a fourth-year life science student, so she is in the Faculty of Arts and Science. And as a fun fact, Tina was telling me that she likes to play spike ball and hang out with friends when she's not working. And Tina, I have to admit, I do not know what spike ball is. So I might need to add, oh no, Brian is reacting strongly. I might need to ask. I'm not sure if anyone else here today is aware of what spike ball is. We might need a brief on spike ball. So as I mentioned, you're not going to hear much more from me. I just want to lay out a couple of ground rules for our session today, so we're all feeling comfortable as we move through it. Remember that we are recording the session, so be conscious of that when you're asking questions. I encourage you to use the chat box to ask questions throughout the session, so Brian and Tina can present some of the information. And then at the end, we're going to open the floor up, and you're welcome to turn on your mic and ask questions that way. If you're having any concerns or questions, you're very able to make an appointment with our team. And if you have specific questions about the Alma Mater Society or the Arts and Science Undergraduate Society, perhaps Tina or Brian might be willing to share their contact information, or our team can always put you in touch with them if you wanted to have a further conversation. So hopefully that makes sense. And let's turn things over to Brian and Tina and get into the student experience at Queen's.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Haley. And I could say that was probably one of the best introductions I've ever received. So thank you for that. Hi, everyone, and good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from wherever you may be joining us. And as Haley was saying, my name is Brian, and I am the AMS Clubs Commissioner this year. And I use he, him, his pronouns. And welcome to the presentation on student life at Queen's AMS Club involvement. So I try to keep it really short and brief. And again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to address it at the end. But yeah, if you want to switch over to the next slide, Haley. Alrighty, so you might be wondering, what does the AMS stand for? The AMS stands for the Alma Mater Society, which is the governing undergraduate student society at Queen's University. So how the structures work in the university is that there are faculty societies, and then there is the AMS faculties being, Arts and Sciences, Commerce Society, Engineering Society, but Arts side would be what you guys are which you guys will be involved with, but then the AMS is the general undergraduate student body on top of that. So yeah, all students are automatically AMS members through student fees regardless of faculty, as I was saying, and then the AMS facilitates student life through facilitating student involvement on campus, and that can come in different ways. We provide meaningful ways of volunteering through our multiple commissions. We provide employment opportunities through our services, and there is also multitudes of ways to get involved within our organization itself. Alrighty, so a little bit about my position and what we do at the AMS Club Commission. So the Clubs Commission is the governing body for students. Oh, there goes my camera. Apologies in advance. My camera loves to start cutting itself off even if I don't do anything. So yeah, so the AMS Clubs Commission is the governing body for student-centric involvement outside of the classroom setting. As Haley was saying, one thing that I believe really differentiates Queen's University from any other Canadian undergraduate universities is the sheer amount of ways to get involved. So fun fact, I'm also a campus tour guide, and one statistic that we like to throw out there is that Queen's has the most amount of clubs per capita in North America. So that is a lot. As of right now, heading into the 2022 academic year, we have 294 ratified clubs, and we are expected to reach around 350 plus at peak times. I know the number was something around 360 something last year, and through our various ratification periods, we welcome and expand our community every year. And one great thing and one interesting fact about this is that every single club is completely unique in their mandate. So none of these 350 clubs at peak times will ever be doing the same thing, if that makes sense. So we have, broad involvement such as the Queen's Squirrel Watching Club. If you guys do have the chance to get over onto campus, you guys will soon realize that squirrels are mythical creatures, and they're very big. Let's just put it that way. And they like to jump at you from garbage bins and stuff. So we appreciate our squirrels to something like the Queen's Music Club, where you get to play your instruments and jam out with your friends. So there's something for everyone, and it is just a really great way and a low commitment way to get involved, even if you're here only for a semester. So yeah, just as a general statistics, 2019-2020 saw 16,000 plus students involved in clubs. That includes the AMS and the SGPS, which is the Graduate Professional Student Society. And the total population of students at Queen's is around 25,000 people. So we are pretty involved as a university. So yeah, how can you get involved with AMS clubs? So no experience is required to join a club, and hiring events in the month of September through O Week and the virtual Tricolor Open House will be happening. For reference, the Tricolor Open House would be an event that will be happening in person in the month of September, usually the first day of school. And it's where we go down to the ARC, which is the Athletics and Recreation Center, and we change the gym to be a giant expo for clubs to set up physical booths. And a lot of first years go to talk with upper years that want to get them involved in events and and things like that. So obviously with coronavirus, that won't be happening, but we will be holding a Zoom-centric event of the Tricolor Open House, and you will be receiving an email from the AMS on how to sign up, and hopefully we will see you guys there. And the great thing about getting involved with clubs is that is minimal commitment required. Involvement can range from recurring executive positions in clubs. So let's say if you're really interested in the Queen Squirrel Watching Club and you want to, make sure that it grows further, then you can apply to be like a marketing coordinator, and you can run their Instagram and Facebook and social accounts, or it can be a one-time event participation. So let's say if the Queen's Model Parliament is having a taster event for their event that's happening in the winter, you can join their event as a one-off thing. You may have to buy tickets, but you will get a taste of what it's like to be involved. And if you want to be involved further, you can choose to be, but if not, so long. Great. So that is it for what I had. It's very brief and a very high level overview into what kind of opportunities are available. But on the screen, that is my email, clubs@ams.queensy.ca. Again, I am here to answer emails for people. That is 95% of my job. So please do not ever hesitate to ask or reach out. And I'd be more than happy to have a sit down if you guys are comfortable with that. As for our social media accounts, at QU Clubs, that is our club-centric account where we will be disseminating a lot of information and also notifications for events that are happening on campus. And then at Queens_AMS, this is the general AMS account, and it's for the entire society. So I recommend that you stay in touch with us by following those accounts. And also, because you guys are all arts and sciences students, there is a counterpart within the arts and sciences that do very similar things as I do, and that is the external outreach commissioner. And you can reach Emily at community@assisqueensy.ca if you are looking to get more involved with art science specific initiatives. All right, thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was wonderful. And you reminded me about the Queen's Squirrel Watching Club, which I had forgotten about over this year of working remotely. So that was a great pleasure to be reminded of that, because I do enjoy watching the squirrels, though I am not part of the club. So we will take any questions that you have for Brian at the end when we do our panel. So hang on to those or put them in the chat if you don't want to forget, and we will make sure to get to those. Now I want to hand things over to Tina, who's going to talk to you about the Exchange Buddies Club. Thanks, Tina.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Tina. Again, I'm a student at Queen's, and today I'm going to give you an introduction to Exchange Buddies. Okay, so so my name is Tina. I am the service commissioner at ASIS, and so ASIS is the Arts and Science Undergraduate Society, and I'm on their council as their services commissioner. That means I just oversee a bunch of services that ASIS provides. That includes Good Times Diner, which is a hot meal service, the ASIS mentorship program, Exchange Buddies, the textbook service potentially, and various other services. Again, my program is life science. I'm from Toronto. My hair color is pink, and a great thing that happened to me this weekend is I came back to Kingston, and I love Kingston. Okay, so what is Exchange Buddies? Well, Exchange Buddies is a great way to get involved and get to know campus in Kingston, kind of as a Queen student. So the program pairs arts and science students with exchange students, so we can show you the place and how we like to hang around it. All right, so one benefit is that you really get to know ASIS, the Arts and Science Undergrad Society, through Exchange Buddies. A lot of the programming is connected to ASIS, and you're able to attend different events that the society holds, which is super exciting. And again, Exchange Buddies is one great way to experience the Queen's campus, like Queen's student style. So that's super duper exciting. Another thing is that you really get to know the Kingston area. Haley, if we get to the next slide. One great thing about Exchange Buddies is that we host local Kingston trips, and you're able to get to experience the fun area, things such as the pier, local restaurants, Wolf Island, but this will all be dependent on the health regulations come fall, as things are changing every single day. So how do we sign up? This program sounds great. Keep an eye on our social media pages to get the latest scoop. We have ASIS Exchange Buddies on the left here, and then Queen's ASIS on the right. ASIS is obviously the larger Society, and this Exchange Buddies page is focused towards Exchange Buddies events and news. So make sure to give them a follow, and we'll be posting our updates on there. And yeah, short and sweet, that's Exchange Buddies. I think on the next slide, we have a space for questions. And I think you'll have a really great year, so get excited.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, that was wonderful. Lots of great information about ways to get involved, and particularly for exchange students too. Everyone who's joining us as an exchange student this session, can I ask you to throw some like applause, some clap emojis into the chat just to thank Brian and Tina for their time today and for telling us all about these awesome opportunities. Or yes, I'm seeing the clap. I forgot that we had that, the clap a little emoji there. So what are the questions that you have for Tina and Brian? Let's open the floor. You can either use the chat or you're very welcome to unmute yourself. All right, so Pauline is asking, for signing up for Exchange Buddies, is it also possible to send an email? Tina, are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, so Exchange Buddy registration hasn't actually opened yet, but you can totally send me an email and I can put you onto a list and make sure that you're added to our program. I'll just send my email in the chat right now so you have it for access.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And when we send out the recording to everyone, including the folks who are at the session, you'll get this recording as well. We'll make sure to include the contact information Brian and Tina provided, so you can reach out if you do have further questions. I have a question, if that's all right for you both. I'm wondering if you have, oh, you know what, I'm going to pause my question because Ada just asked a great question in the chat. Are there any other platforms you announce events on other than Instagram?
I guess I'll speak on that first. Instagram happens to be the most commonly used platform. I think it's kind of weird to say, but as I'm approaching my 5th year here, there has been a paradigm shift. When I first came here, it was all Facebook and Facebook groups. But then now we've seen a shift away from Instagram, which is kind of weird to say, and it makes it sound like I'm old, but please, I'm only 21. But yeah, Instagram is the centric way of, I guess, through social media where we distribute information, but we will also send traditional forms of messaging such as, you know, ads on campus, and also emails. Emails are very big, so I recommend that you always stay glued to your Queen's emails, and please read our emails.
Totally. And I also know that if you reach out to any one of like the club leaders or student leaders on campus, they'll be happy to direct you in the right place and get you the information that you need.
Yeah, we have incredible students here at Queen's, and particularly student leaders, those folks who get involved on campus. They're wonderful. So always reach out if ever in doubt. There's lots of folks who are here to help you. Alexander is asking, is there a fee when we want to sign in a club or exchange buddies?
For Exchange Buddies, there is no fee to join the program.
Yeah, and I guess for clubs, it really depends. Again, one-off events such as you know, taster events and also social events. Depending on the club, they may charge you fees. We don't, like, I personally don't have the jurisdiction to say that you should charge fees. You know, if it was an ideal world and, you know, students can attend anything, it would all be subsidized. But again, because things are expensive on campus, and you know, when you are renting out venues, it kind of adds up. So it depends. But typically, to become an executive member of a club, so let's say again, like marketing for a club or like logistics, those are positions where you're volunteering your time. So they will 99% of the times they will not charge you like a membership fee. But then if it's like usually like a one-off I guess involvement in a event, they will typically charge fees. But that being said, I would like to emphasize that the clubs commission has a bursary program where we do subsidize ticket costs. So if you are a student on campus, even through exchange, you can shoot us an email, and there is an application process, and we will try to subsidize the tickets costs of your tickets.
Oh, that's lovely. I did not know that, Brian. That's really wonderful support. So do note that, folks. So that's a thanks in the chat there from Alexander. And Julia is asking, is it only possible to join clubs at the beginning of the year, or are we able to join throughout? So I think that's one you can both address.
I'll get started on that first. So thank you for that question, Julia. And it really depends. Again, executive members, typically there seems to be hiring rounds in the beginning of the year for, first years and exchange students, people that won't have been on campus the year before. So if you are looking for consistent, meaningful involvement, typically happens at the beginning of the year. And that's why events like the Tricolor Open House are so important, because they advertise through said spaces. But, it isn't always exclusive. If it's like a team that has general meetings, so let's say, take for example, Queen's Student Investment Groups, QSIG, they like talking about investment strategies and all that kind of stuff. They have weekly meetings on Sundays, and it's open for the public. So, it's free for you to join. And if you see something that catches your eye on campus, you're more than welcome to join it, and see how it goes. But it's like, it's exactly how you want to get involved. So it's, if you like it, you can stay involved, but if you don't like it, you don't have to stay involved. So that's like the great way. A great thing about clubs is that, involvement can be meaningful as consistent, and it can also be a one-off thing if you don't like it.
That's awesome. And Julia is saying thank you in the chat. And as well, Tina, would students be able to join with the Exchange Buddies program at any point? Like if they remember it in November, let's say?
Yeah, you could totally join the Exchange Buddies program at any point. The way I'm trying to set up programming is to have an open registration period all throughout September, October, and have 2 events run, one in October, one in November in the fall term, and then 2 events run in the winter term. So it's set up for exchange students, so it's kind of created on a semester basis. So yeah, it's totally fit to tailor your needs, or totally tailored to fit your needs. Excuse me.
That's awesome. This sounds really great. So it looks like we've gone through the questions in the chat, but folks, do send them in still. We've got a few more minutes here. I had a couple of questions as well. So Brian, this one's particularly for you. You mentioned the term hiring, and I just wondered if you could clarify, when you say hiring, do you mean that these are paid positions, or are these kind of like, if you're joining a club, it's voluntary, but I know at Queen's the term hire is used often. And then if you are like becoming an executive member or an exec of a club, is that a paid position, or does it vary across your over hundreds of clubs? Could you give us a little more information on that, please?
Yeah, of course. So apologies on my behalf. I probably should have clarified the terminology. I realize that my experience in 5 years at Queen's isn't probably representative of what your experiences in your respective different post-secondary institutions are. Hiring is a very general term just to say that they're recruiting members for their upcoming year or whatever upcoming program. And the expectation is that these positions are not paid, but more so of a way to kind of pursue your passions on campus. And these are groups that are there to facilitate that. But kind of the running joke is that, once you like sign up for an executive and you put in your work for a year, you'll get a nice little sweater with your name on it, it's going to be a navy blue quarter zip with your name on the side and your crest on the middle. So yeah, it's all about, I guess, getting the value that you want out of it. And that's the thing that I really want to emphasize, is that involvement is only meaningful for yourself if you think it's worth it, right? And that's the great thing about, I guess, the ranges of involvement that you can take on campus, is that it can be, again, as lasting as recurring commitments or just be a one-off thing. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And that's such a really important point too, especially when I think about my days as an exchange student, the ability to like have flexibility, and like you were saying as well, Tina, like tailored to what is needed for someone who's here for a finite period of time. Thanks for highlighting that to you both. A question to you both that, answer as much as you or as little as you want, but you're both upper year Queen's students. So do you have any tips for these new upper year students who are joining us? It could be like, honestly, the best place to get food or coffee on campus, or what generally your experience has been at Queen's. How would you suggest they approach making this transition?
Wow. First of all, upper year students at Queen's, that's insane to think. I feel like I just got here. Feeling a little elderly now. Just kidding. Anyways, so let's talk about food first. There's a campus coffee shop. It's called Common Ground. Students call it Kokro. It's in the in the Arc, which is one of the main buildings on campus. You go up to the second floor, you should order an iced Americano and then a top secret bagel. So maybe write that down. Just kidding. But I love to get food there, and you can also study and just see student life there. It's always bustling and students are everywhere and they're always talking and chatting, and the lounge is open now. So you kind of get a taste of what it used to be like pre-pandemic. And I guess any advice for, I guess students is to take every opportunity and really go for it. And if you're only here for the semester, like really try and see what the student life is all about, because Queens is a university with one of the highest retention rates from what I know, and it's because students love the student life here, and we love it here. So we just want to share that with you guys.
I would completely agree with what Tina was saying. And again, I'll just like answer the questions backwards. This is coming from somebody that was not involved at all in first year. And I personally found a lot of solace and consistency in being involved with a club while I was transitioning through different faculties. And yeah, now look where I am. I'm giving presentations about things that I didn't really think I would be getting involved in first year. So it's a small world. But what I would definitely recommend is, again, put yourself out there, like Tina was saying, but also take it day by day. It's definitely daunting to be in a completely different culture, no matter where you're coming from, with a different language. And, it may be overwhelming at times. And the great thing, again, about clubs is that involvement can be whatever you want it to be. So kind of tailor that towards what you're looking to get out of your semester here. And yeah, that's really all I can say. And also, please remember that exchange isn't about just Queen's University. There's also Kingston, and Kingston is a part of Queen's University. Well, Queen's is a part of Kingston, and then it just kind of grows and expands upon that, right? So make sure to get out there and see what Princess Street has for you in like the middle of the, I guess, when Christmas is kicking up, yeah, it's fantastic. Oh, just to know, is there a French bakery in the surroundings? Yes, there is. There's a lot of bakeries, and also a fun fact. Kingston has the most amount of restaurants per capita in the entirety of Canada, along with the most amount of professors per capita in Canada. Anyways, these are all just random statistics that I got ingrained into me. But yeah, fantastic bakeries. Speaking of bakeries, I think my go-to cafe off campus that is not Common Grounds is Panchancho, which is an absolutely fantastic French bakery. And they have the most delectable croissants on the planet. And if you go on early on Saturdays before the people get there, they'll like have them fresh so you can like smell the butter, and it's fantastic.
Oh no, now I want to go to Panchancho. It's true. We have really wonderful and a wide array of food options here, on campus and off campus. And the great news is we're a 10-minute walk, and you can even walk down by the water to get to Princess Street in the downtown core that Brian was referencing. So there's so much to look forward to. My goodness, between the clubs and trips with or even virtual gatherings with exchange buddies or other clubs, and the food, and I promise the squirrels, they might jump down from a tree or out of a garbage can. They're really not that scary though. They're pretty used to folks on campus, so they're just kind of like fluffy little counterparts that we'll see walking around. I hope this has been a good session for you all, and you're feeling excited. It looks like Brian has some exciting plans later today. I want to put out a last call for any other questions or comments. So please, again, feel free to unmute yourself or pop a question in the chat. And if there's no other questions, then again, please join me in thanking Tina and Brian for spending some time with us today. Oh, we forgot about Spikeball, Tina. Quickly, maybe can you give us the 101 on Spikeball?
Spikeball is a kind of sport/game that a lot of Queen students like to play. Brian and some of our friends like to play Spikeball on the weekends. And so essentially I almost am certain that people are familiar with Spikeball. But it's kind of a circular net on the ground. You have a little bouncy yellow ball. Typically it's 2 teams of 2. And you just it's almost like volleyball ball on the ground. It's a combination of various different sports, and it's so much fun. Anyways, I did just want to say, if you're curious about spikeball and or do really like spikeball, ASIS, which is the council that I'm on, is renting out spikeball nets next term. So if you come to campus and you want to play and you don't have your own spikeball net, you can totally come to the offices and we'll be able to rent you out one free of cost. So you can play a little spikeball.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so again, join me please in thanking Brian and Tina for a really great session. Brian and Tina, last words before we close out the session.
Can't wait to see you guys here and come say hi. And again, we're always, looking to grow upon our respective communities, and it's absolutely fantastic that that the exchange program is still happening, and hopefully you guys will get involved with a club on campus. Yeah, and please don't hesitate to send me an email if you have any questions. It's clubs@ams.quincy.ca.
Yes, same here. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you see Brian and I on campus, please don't be afraid to say hi. We don't bite, and we'll be excited to show you around.
Amazing. Thank you, Brian and Tina, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope you all have a great day or evening or afternoon, and safe, safe travels as you start to depart for Canada. We're really excited to see you here on campus soon. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
That was great. Thank you, Haley.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm just gonna stop our recording here.